Welcome again. I start almost every single video I've ever done with "Alright, so." I don't know why.
Well, yeah, you know.
Anyways, welcome once again to Let's Do It Again. This week's prompt comes from Matt, which is that we're going to pitch a Star Wars story movie.
Yes.
A spin-off side Star Wars film, but in the new continuity, but you could bring old continuity stuff in.
And that was kind of mostly it. I wanted to see what we would choose if we had to pick something. I have something.
I have nothing from old continuity.
Yeah.
I went really fan fiction.
I will say, though, my pitch is really not what I would do. Because I don't feel I could, I don't feel like Star Wars, I would be allowed to go as dark as I'd want. Because if I had to, I would take what little they gave me in Clone Wars to retcon Grievous's backstory into a stupid two-dimensional
would you just do a Grievous movie?
I would expand what their retcon is. Because his old
really
backstory is amazing, and now it's kind of just surgery went bad, he's mad at Jedi, and I'm like, that's kind of dumb.
Yeah, I something on Facebook posted something that's like, would you like an R-rated Star Wars movie? And I was like, no. It's Star Wars.
And that's why I was like, there's no way, because Grievous' story is just melancholy hyper-violence.
Well, if you tone down the hyper-violence, you can get away.
No. He is a man who has 30 children with marriages he does not care about.
Oh.
He is a sad Conan who becomes a cyborg. He does not get less than an R.
Do you remember when we thought he was Qui-Gon Jinn?
No, I don't. Was that a thing?
Yeah, people thought, because Count Dooku has this whole speech about, where, Obi-Wan's like, well, Qui-Gon never would have gone along with this, and goes, are you so sure? And then when
could have been cool.
When Grievous shows up, yeah, one of the theories was that he was Qui-Gon, but with, beast parts, put on him and cyborg stuff to bring him back to life. Yeah, it would have been really cool.
Liam Neeson was still him, too. That'd be, oh my god.
You know what's funny? They could get him now.
Oh, definitely.
They could get Liam Neeson now.
Alright, but yeah, so my pitch is not my actual dream concept, but it's something I would love to do just because I love the characters, and I would love to bring this one element into the canon, specifically.
Is it the Indiana Jones finding Han Solo? Is that the whole movie?
Well, we'll see you next time, because Eric just
I still have to give my pitch.
No one cares. So, I wrote an opening crawl, kinda.
I thought about doing that, and I kind of have that.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Alright, so, Empire is falling after their defeat at the Battle of Endor and the death of the Emperor. The remaining leaders have fled to the far corners of the galaxy. So it's set after Return, everybody's running. One admiral in particular, a man named Corvus, I'm not reading it word for word like it'd be a crawl because I don't have the John Williams score behind me.
Yeah.
Named Admiral Corvus is fled to uncharted waters, discovering a Jedi temple, just kind of hidden. Corvus...
What? In the crawl, just comma, which is kind of hidden?
Which is kind of hidden, just out in the, comma. Oh! I still haven't read my title. I will after the crawl. My title is hilarious and made me laugh for days.
It's supposed to be at the top of the crawl.
I forgot. I'm not George Lucas. So he's, I like to, I wrote it, being a superstitious man he's old to the point of, he's definitely been around since before the Galactic Civil War broke out. And I like the idea that he's a very superstitious man. So he just hoards all this knowledge he discovers. A bunch of holocrons, ancient relic stuff. Namely one specific relic called the Mask of the World Eater. It's an artifact dating back to the days of the Old Republic. So he's like, whoa. And the artifact is said if he uses this artifact, he could just end planets, Death Star style. So he's like, I need this. I need it bad. But not really having the resources to just be like, let's siege this place, or let's go send people. He contacts an outside agent, someone he knows will get the job done. My title is Star Wars Anthology, The Mask of the World Eater, a bounty hunter debacle, a Star Wars story. So the beginning of our movie...
Mask of what?
Mask of the World Eater.
Oh.
So our movie opens.
Do you bring in the Marvel Universe?
Our movie opens with Admiral Corvus sitting in his Imperial office, just surrounded like Jedi tomes and holocrons and stuff. The mask is there. It's a bone white mask.
Wait, when is this set? I thought you said it was after Endor.
Yeah.
When is... What do you mean?
What?
I thought you said in continuity. Like,
Yeah.
why would there be
Endor.
somebody with all this Jedi knowledge?
Because he found that temple when he fled to the...
Yeah. Okay. I was thinking like a library where I was like, but
No,
we know the Jedi Academy came together and then immediately fell.
All this stuff
Okay.
up from the temple that nobody's been to in forever. So, in particular, there's a whole big detailed thing about a joining ritual with the mask itself that he's very interested in. Finally, they come tell him, oh, Admiral Corvus is placed by Jason Isaacs, which is Lucius Malfoy, for reference. He was also in The Patriot, but I think I saw The Patriot, and that
I
was
think
it.
he's also the bad guy in Kung Fu Panda.
He doesn't look anything like a tiger.
I'm gonna look it up while you're talking.
So yeah, he meets up with a hologram of Boba Fett, played by whoever voices him right now.
It's
The
still
guy who played Django.
Yeah.
So they discuss the mask. Boba Fett is like, so it's located on this highly religious, highly guarded temple, in this temple on this weird old planet. What are you going to pay me to go in there by myself? And Corvus only has one thing, so he just says, I'll just give you the ship and everything on it, even all the stuff we pulled from the temple. And he's like, deal. That's a lot. That's a lot of money. Potential money. But this leads to several underlings being like, Are you serious, man? You're selling our boat? You're gonna leave us high and dry? His defense is, well, once we have the mask, it's not gonna matter if we had a ship or not.
He's not Kung Fu Panda.
He's not in Kung Fu Panda. All that gusto, not even in the Panda.
He was Ra's al Ghul under the Red Hood, though.
Oh, well, he'd be good. So, Boba Fett, hologram disappears. There is now a lot of Imperial schisms starting to form. A lot of people are mad. But nobody is really able to mutiny. He's kind of surrounded himself with most of the stormtroopers now being kind of indoctrinated into this concept because they don't really have anything else. It's kind of, he's almost like a little pocket version of what's that movie? Why am I forgetting? Apocalypse Now, where he's just gone. Him and his elite are so far gone at this point. So several officers just bail. One group in particular goes to Dengar, who is Nathan Fillion in my movie.
Of course.
Because he'd be perfect.
Yeah, he's perfect.
The second I read that he was like a womanizer and kind of like sly, I was like, Nathan Fillion, done.
He's also perfect for not Han Solo.
He would be.
I can't think of Dash Rendar. I think it's
Yeah,
Dash
oh my
Rendar.
god, he'd be a great Dash Rendar. So they're like, listen, we're going to give you this tip. You, Dengar, will get this tip because if you can get the mask first, we can use it as a bargaining chip to get the ship back from him because he'll give it to us. We don't need him getting rid of it. They're essentially trying to power play Corvus, who's gone a little mental. So Dengar's like, I'm in. Another group just goes and warns the planet, and the planet laughs them off like, no one's going to come here. Who even knows about it? Anything we have of Jedi significance is thousands of years old. There's no point. However, one woman, a young priestess, and I like to imagine her being of a... They're those Force user religions we just lost when they killed everything. So she's kind of one of them, where they believe in the Force. She
Kind of like Maz Kanata?
Yeah, she isn't necessarily Force sensitive, but they're like Jehovah Jedis. Like, they're just like an offshoot. The Force is mystical. She is played by AJ Michalka, who is, if I remember correctly, she's the older blonde girl in Super 8.
Oh, okay.
I liked her attitude. I liked what she looked like. I was like, yeah, done. So she's like, are you serious? She's the only one taking this seriously, but no one's really listening to her. However, all this eventually spills into the criminal underworld as well. Oh, I have it. I picked this up. I pick up things and I play with them. Eric noticed it.
So the same thing.
It spills into the criminal underworld as everybody begins talking about this big score. Literally, like essentially like millions of dollars, $100 million equivalent worth of just military tech that they're just giving away for a quote-unquote old piece of dust, a mask. essentially, you're going to realize this first. My entire cast is just the bounty hunters from that scene in Empire Strikes Back.
Right.
Just them. Next up is Forlom and Zuckuss. Forlom being he's a protocol droid with a weird bug head. I thought that was weird.
I don't remember him.
He's off to the side. He's got a protocol droid body and a weird bug head.
Huh.
And Zuckuss is a Gand, which is a race we never see other than Zuckuss.
Is Zuckuss the big bug guy?
He's like the big fat bug guy.
Yeah.
Forlom is Simon Pegg and Zuckuss is Nick Frost.
Okay.
And they are contracted by Lago, an up-and-coming Hutt crime lord, who's essentially trying to take control of Tatooine post Jabba being strangled by a slave girl.
Previously existing? Huh?
No.
Okay.
No, he is not. But so he's like, get me that ship. Get me that. Or even if I can't get that ship, I could get something. So they get hired just to try and get it. Next, we get IG-88, who is Hugo Weaving, all the way.
Oh, yeah.
Playing IG, who just tortures the information out of an Imperial he catches. And mostly joins because he really wants to screw Boba Fett out of a deal. That was one of those weird details I found. I was like, wow, IG-88 just has it out for Boba Fett. Alright. You'd think Bosk would be, but they kind of chopped all that out and made him and Boba buddies now.
In the new continuity?
I guess, yeah.
Yeah,
He
because in
trains
Clone
him
Wars,
and stuff.
yeah.
And I wrote, finally, ... we get the Bosk, who is Dolph Lundgren. I love him. I love Dolph Lundgren so much. Who finds out completely by accident.
Would he be like a Darth Vader, where like it's Dolph Lundgren in the suit, but like somebody else voices
No,
him?
I want Dolph Lundgren, like how happy he is, where he's like, I'm smart, but I have too big a body. I want that personality of him in Bosk. And I want it to just, he's hanging out in a cantina, and there's a couple Imperial defectors, and then stormtroopers bomb in to kill him, and he's the only one to walk away. And he picks one up and is like, why? Why did you shoot this place up? And he's like, well, they talked. And he's like, well, you're going to talk. So Bosk finds out completely by accident. He almost wasn't in this movie. So now we have all 6 bounty hunters planning their own raid of this temple. So, back to Astrid. She's trying. She's pleading, just trying to get in, being like, hey, they're gonna attack this temple, and the overseers of the temple, it's perfectly safe, nothing of value. She's getting the old spiel. She's escorted out, where she encounters a Jedi, which is just Dengar in brown robes with a lightsaber that doesn't work. And he's like, I believe you. In fact, I'm here on behalf of Skywalker. Yes, the Luke Skywalker. And I can confirm. If I can confirm, your worries, our worries, I will call in reinforcements from the Rebellion. I have that kind of authority. I'm here for Luke Skywalker. So she's like, I got a Jedi on my side. Awesome. And then we now break into an Ocean's 11 style montage where we just keep cutting between each bounty hunter infiltrating the temple. Boba Fett stealing the armor of a temple guard and just kind of like moving through the patrols. This idea I had for IG-88 where he actually sends a bunch of people into the temple to look at stuff, and each of them are carrying a piece of him, and he starts assembling himself secretly somewhere in the back. And then Dengar just, I'm a Jedi. Although she starts suspecting it when no force powers matter, and it's a lot of just like, ha! Chop him in the back of the neck. Knocking people out style. And it's like, you could like, he's like, Forlom and Zuckuss attempt to gain a guided tour of the temple, however. Kind of just pestering people. They're like, well, what is this? What is it? Who'll lead us around? What's the tour? And every time they get kind of shown something, they just like, C4, or it's detonate in Star Wars. Detonate. Bosk, however, when we cut to Bosk, nowhere near the temple, not even on the same planet maybe, buying a giant machine gun. And that's the last we see of Bosk for that scene. So the idea, Fett breaches security without anything. IG-88 starts assassinating his way to the power center. Fett has now gotten into kind of the main vault and is looking for the actual thing. Forlom and Zuckuss are finally grabbed by security for being annoying and suspicious in light of recent threats. And they're thrown in a holding cell, which they immediately start like, detonate. Dengar and Astrid go right to the heads of the temple, hoping that the urgency and the fact that it's a Jedi now leading to them will just let them into the vault. Bosk is nowhere to be seen still. So all this is happening when suddenly the power goes out. IG-88. So they're all like, oh no. So the security starts going down towards the power as a ton of explosives go off. And the entire middle section of the temple starts kind of falling into itself. And Zuckuss and Forlom start going up to the top. Like, this is it. IG-88's now making his way up. Dengar reveals his treachery and is like, I'm out. Peace, you know. And, you know, everybody's doing their thing. The guards are kind of trying to maintain things. And just as everything is going kind of somebody's way, the entire front door is blown open as Bosk, laughing, just miniguns his way through. No subtlety, no plan. He was like, well, I gotta get a bigger gun because it's a big temple. So I'm just going to shoot my way in. So it's just it's chaos. Nobody knows what's happening. And ultimately we end up in... Boba Fett is finally got this thing because he's like, well, that sounds bad. Whatever. Starts going back to it because it's not on his floor. When everybody arrives at the room with him and are just like, it's Boba Fett. Why did it have to be Boba Fett? And then IGA, like, that's fine. I always plan for Boba Fett just for this case. And Boss is like, yeah, even I plan for Boba Fett getting in my way, don't you? And Zuckuss and Forlom are like, yeah, we do too. I mean, we have a couple things just in case. And Dengar's like, yeah, I feel like that's like the best case scenario. You should always plan for Boba Fett. And then they realize there's 5 of them. And they all jump Boba Fett. And Boba Fett, I want a scene of Boba Fett just winning. Just beating everybody because it's still Boba Fett. And I don't want to punk him because I love Boba Fett even though I hate him. Even though he's just a total punk in most things. So that these
not most things, just in the movies. Just in the ones that matter.
So, yeah, just where it counts. Which happens here. Because if I had one character trait I would make canon, it's Boba Fett has supernatural bad luck. Maybe the Force hates him, I don't know. But essentially, just as Boba Fett knocks them away, goes to grab the case, he starts slipping backwards as the entire, just a half of the building falls from just the explosions, the rubble, and the case goes flying and just right into stormtroopers who have conveniently arrived to save the day. Well, we heard about this. You know, we had several people come down here. We heard that it was being attacked. We're just happy to help. You know, and they're like, wow, really? Aren't you with the Empire? It's like, well, no. Nobody's with the Empire now. We're just, you know, this is all we have. You know, sorry, don't tell the rebellion we're hiding out here. And they're like, well, you saved the day. So they kind of run away. And all the bounty hunters are now locked up. Astrid's thrown in because she led Dengar right to him. Which then begins my second act, which, and I unfortunately didn't have enough time to fully flesh out. I have the first third, the heist portion, because eventually it turns into a jailbreak movie, a prison break movie, where they all kind of have to, you get to know them more. Yes, where you get to know them a little bit more. Astrid would actually explain the myth of the world Mask of the World Eater being this immensely powerful relic that a Sith Lord once wore. He was the first Sith Lord to master the art of binding your soul to an object, in fact.
Like Voldemort?
Well, like Sauron, but, you know, I would go there, not Voldemort.
Well, but you have a Harry Potter guy in your...
I do!
In your cast.
Oh, I do, right. I haven't said that at the start. But yeah, it's... And that once... The entity in question, who, I'm just going to say it, is Darth Nihilus from the Knights of the Old Republic series. One of the things he once did is he screamed so loud. He
did he boo?
Well, he yelled so loud everybody died on a planet. The entire planet died instantaneously.
That's kind of two things Boo did.
Yeah. Well, Nihilus has an interesting trait where he's so corrupted, he's so evil that his language is viral, and every syllable that he lets out hurts people around him, like drains them of life. So he can't talk. So he's always mumbling, which is why
he's kind of like Black Bolt.
When he appears in Star Wars Legacy, all his dialogue is in those little whispers, and everybody has to talk for him. I love Nihilus; he's so cool. So I was like, I'm just gonna make that canon. He existed at some point. Let them sort it out. And she would explain that, and I would like Zuckuss and Forlom would be like, "Oh, that ain't good," because they're they're not bad guys. They're just one's a protocol droid for Lord's sake. And Bosk has this weird trait now where he's like really into the underdog because like he helps a dude in Rebels and he's like, "You're my new buddy, Rebel man," and I'm like, he'd probably be like, "Wow, that ain't good." And then they're like, "Well, where'd the mask end up?" And Boba Fett's like, "Well, obviously." And they're like, "Oh, the Empire got it." So Boba Fett's like, "Well, I'm not getting double crossed. I'm getting what they offered me, so I'm going." And Bosk is like, "I'll go. I'm not, I gotta help her." Essentially, they all develop their own reasons for going. IG-88's reason being, Boba Fett says, "Listen, if you help and you kill more people than me, I'll give you Slave 1. And IG-88's like, "Even if I plan to destroy it," he's like, "I'll push the button myself. And I'll be counting. I know you will." I want Hugo Weaving in a movie so bad. I love Hugo Weaving.
He's in movies. You can go watch him in movies.
Yeah, but I can only watch The Matrix so much.
Captain America.
Yeah, but
Transformers.
I do like his Megatron, kinda. At least how he voices.
And his weird alien voice that he invented on the day. It was like, no, I'm not going to speak any English in this movie.
No. So essentially, it literally kind of turns from Smoking Aces into Guardians of the Galaxy, where now the bounty hunters are all just flying, or they break out and they're getting ready. However, by this time, I don't know what it was going to be yet. I never really figured it out. Essentially, he uses the mask to wipe something out, Death Star style, with just dark magic, and he's now like wearing it, and it's consuming him, mostly because the ego and mind of Nihilus is poisoning him, and he's killed everybody that isn't one of his SS elites, his little close buddies, stormtroopers. And I want him to just be firing every weapon on the Star Destroyer randomly. So they're not getting through like a war zone. It's just chaos. They're just trying to fly.
He's like Zim in Operation Doom.
He's just fire. he's what's his name? Oh, I hated Star Trek.
The
Nero.
Nero.
Fire everything. He's just shooting everything. And I kind of plotted the entire scene in my head to Knights of Sidonia because I love that song. So they fight in.
I immediately went to Holiday in Cambodia, which is a very different.
It's a way different song. But they all do their own things. They knock out the engines, knock out the weapons. IG-88 takes up a sniper position on the hull of the Star Destroyer, and they go to fight him. And I'm sure it'd sneak in if I was making this movie, but the only Star Wars reference I would make,
aside from all of the other things,
the only line callback I would make would be all of them are now in the control room with Corvus, who's gone. Corvus is like a husk at this point, and the mask is just going crazy on everything, dark magic style. And they're all getting ready to literally fight Sith Lord, essentially. And Zuckuss would be like, "Forlom?" And he's like, "What? I love you, man." And he's like, "I know, man. I want to love you, and I know." From a guy and a robot, just two best friends ready to go.
No one knows this, but this is a recurring theme in your work.
Two guys that love each other.
Well, a guy and a robot.
Hey, yeah, nobody knows that yet, but it is a recurring in one thing. But big fight would happen. I basically just want him to be just moving his hand, and like the control room just becomes claws. Like he's just using the whole room to attack them, and they're just dodging, rolling, trying to get to him and take shots. It would just kind of come down to they eventually start trying to hold him down, and before he can like disintegrate everybody, he takes a pot shot from IG-88, cracks the mask. They start taking him. Pot shot cracks the mask. Eventually they hold him down. IG-88 blows the head open. Mask explodes. Everybody's thrown. The ship just starts going down. They escape. And I don't know. I didn't again, I didn't have time to really flesh this one out as much as my other ones, but it all kind of scatter. I never liked.
You had exactly the same amount of time.
Yeah. Well, I didn't have. I had a lot of. It was hectic this week.
I know.
So they would part ways. I don't like that in the expanded universe, Boba Fett was just this monster jerk to everybody. Yeah. I like the idea that they hate him because he's better than them, but at the end of the day, they're just like, well,
It's like the Flash Rogues with the reverse Flash.
We wouldn't have been able to win that fight without you, but like I like the idea that they're all mostly trying to just survive the fight. Boba Fett's the only one actually fighting him.
It's like a professional competitivism as opposed to...
I like that idea, and the idea, Boba Fett be like, I told you you could have the ship, and he's like, well, you technically killed 2 more than me. It's like, you were actually counting? He's like, I told you I would be. And I like, I was counting. I wanted to blow your ship up, but I won't, because you beat me. And they all, scatter 4 wins. And I didn't get to develop Astrid enough, because her entire intention was I was like, well, we got girl Luke, we're getting like a girl Han Solo. I want
Would this be girl Princess Leia?
It'd be a girl. Well, I wanted another Princess Leia, but with more of a priestess spin.
Oh, okay.
Not a monarch, but just kind of like a servant of a faith. I was going with that kind of idea where this would be her introduction to the universe as a whole, and then you have like a weird mystic character. You could do the more ethereal kind of, I don't know, mythology of it, because I'm sure Rey is just gonna be a Jedi. Like, there's not gonna be any exploration of the concepts anymore.
Well, maybe with Maz Kanata, and there was that guy in the beginning that was kind of a Force priest.
Oh yeah, wasn't that Max von Sydow? Who's like, I'm an old friend. Yeah. It said so in the crawl. Who are you? IMDb. Who is he? Oh my god, he doesn't exist. But yeah, that's my pitch for just a fun kind of summer romp with the bounty hunters.
Okay, well my original idea was I wanted to essentially do a remake of. Not Fistful of Dollars, for a few dollars more. It would essentially just be space for a few dollars more with Boba Fett, Bossk, and Lando.
Which would have been really funny.
But with Lando being
more...
With Lando being more like Tuco from Good, the Bad, and the Ugly than like... not Angel Eyes, but whoever Angel Eyes plays in the... Like, it would end with the two of them teaming up. And I was like, well, that's kind of like a big epic Western thing. There wouldn't be like a lot of plotting. Like it wouldn't be great for a pitch. So I was like, I should do something different. So then I decided to do a big samurai epic that doesn't have a lot of plotting and doesn't have a lot of dialogue and would only work if it was made. So it's not a great pitch. It's not as intricate. And it's super fanficky because it's like, oh, I had this idea for a Jedi thing and now I can do it. Yeah. So I'm going to put it here. All right. So the crawl would be more expository than usual.
Yeah.
It wouldn't so much be relaying events. It would kind of make it clear that the Great War at the Sith has ended and it's been like a couple of 100 years. But that since then, because I'm trying to keep with I guess we'll see what happens with this trilogy, but I'm trying to keep with the idea of, in the pre-trilogy they say it's been like 1,000 years since the Sith have existed. So I'm going to say it's been like 500 years since the Sith War.
Yeah.
And in that time, there's been no more Sith, but Jedi still fall to the dark side.
Oh yeah,
like that's a thing that happens. It's something that we never address in Star Wars, but I feel like that's a more common occurrence than we want it to be. And so,
1 in 7 Jedi fall. Come on.
and so I was like, well, there would have to be someone that specializes in that, someone specifically that hunts down like Jedi that turn. And so the title of mine is Jedi Executioner, which is just kind of a riff on Samurai Executioner, which is a Kazuka Koike manga. And so the crawl would be like, it's been 500 years since the Great Sith War, and in that time, this position has been created of a single Jedi who just trains to...
Kind of just like a Jedi Inquisitor.
Yeah, just trains to take down Dark Jedi. That's his entire purpose. And so it opens, and we have... Okay, I have names, but it feels dumb. Making up sci-fi names is dumb.
Oh, man. Speaking of which, you might have seen my Facebook post that was random gibberish, but it's because I was getting Star Wars names from a generator, and one of them came up as Tag Sundown, and I was like,
awesome.
I'm using that in something. So I posted it so I wouldn't forget.
No, I tried to come up with names, and they're hard to come up because none of these characters, and then I was like, oh, maybe I'll use like Exar Kun and the other guy in that story. I was like, but this isn't that story, like it would just be using names for name's sake. So I have Quark.
Like a quark?
I don't know, his name's Quark.
Oh.
I have a full name for him, which is Quark Las Vacas.
Las Vacas is good.
Which is just It's QLV, like
Yeah.
Quinlan Voss.
Ha.
Because I couldn't use him because he exists.
Who you probably fought not doing something with.
Well, I wouldn't do anything with him because
Yeah.
they've actually done stuff with him. I couldn't
Would
get
you
my
say
hands on
he's
him.
your Star Wars Hobgoblin?
Yeah, he's my favorite Star Wars character. Everything should be about Quinlan Voss. Anyways,
It's pretty good.
so Quark is there's only one man I could think of that could play like a put upon, like sad does his duty samurai as a Jedi, as Ron Perlman. Now it might
Great.
be entirely because there's a moment in Hellboy where he rolls his shoulders like Yojimbo,
Yeah.
but like something about him I was like, oh yeah, he could totally do that. So it's Ron Perlman. So he's been a Jedi executioner for a good long time because Ron Perlman is an aged man.
Yeah, of course.
And he's been putting off. There's like 5 candidates that have been training to take over his position, and he's been putting off like the actual selection process. And so he has one last mission. He has to go after. Hold on, I've got the name written down. Space names are dumb. Adelar. That's the name I came up with.
Adelar's good.
Yeah, Adelar, who's a Jedi that
I was waiting for you to be like, Adelar's not... Wait for it. Adelar Fuzzy Legs. What?
No, that was the thing is the first
Adelar
names
Woozy Wimples.
the first names aren't super hard. It's come up with a last name because Star Wars is sometimes generic fantasy like a bunch of sounds.
Yeah.
But it's also sometimes like Skywalker.
Yeah.
And I wanted a name like that. But anytime I did it, I was like, "Oh, that's dumb."
Yeah.
Rain Smasher. What does that mean? Like that's dumb.
What does that mean?
So, anyways, so he, it's gonna be shot. Okay, here's where I'm a massive hypocrite.
Yeah.
Because I was trying to think of who's a director that shoots like Sergio Leone and shoots like Akira Kurosawa. This is a movie that will be very, like a lot of like long tracking shots, just things happening,
Yeah.
almost like a Coen Brothers movie. I was like, I want a director who directs like that. I can only think of one person, and I've criticized them for it in the past. There's Peter Jackson. I was like, yeah, if I want to do a big samurai epic where there's not a lot of talking, I have to give it to Peter Jackson. So it's directed by Peter Jackson.
I always just pretend I'm directing. I would never hand that off. Get out of my face.
Peter Jackson, I know you only direct films that you write, but I have this really cool idea for a Star Wars movie that you may be interested in.
If you want, you can trace over what I wrote.
Look, I will give you one scene where you can have witty pirate banter.
You can be in it. I don't care.
No, he can't be in it.
Bust a carrot out, man.
You don't do that in Star Wars.
What?
Anyway.
George Lucas is in the prequels.
Oh, you're right. We don't do that in Star Wars.
And now he's a total awesome guy because of the Clone Wars.
So, there's this fallen Jedi named Adelar that nobody really knows anything about. Like I want like a not a montage, just a long like scene of just like Quark just going through data in the Jedi archives, like learning about him, and that we kind of learn through sight, like seeing things that he was like kind of like Lucifer, in that like he was top of the class, like he was best at everything. He seemed like he was going to be this great Jedi, and then he started experimenting with the dark side. And
ooh, I don't know why my brain just made it up as you were talking. They would be really cool if there'd be a moment where it's footage from a council meeting, and there's just a moment where he questions the integrity of another Jedi, and I don't know what you would say. It would be like he would answer, but it would be one of those like lame politician answers where it's like, you weak, addled person, and I just a fate, like a disappointment on Adelar, and it would be a moment where it'd be like, that's when he fell. You can always pinpoint the moment they realized they were done.
So with him, like his idea is kind of,
yeah,
he's kind of like in Legacy, where it's like, but why can't I use the dark side?
Yeah.
Look, I can do good things with this. And they're like, no. And he's like, well, what's the difference between like force pushing somebody and force lightninging somebody?
What's the difference
I can
between-
force push somebody off a roof. I can force lightning somebody and they don't die.
I want to push him. That's my will of force. Like, I don't know why.
So, and then he was sent on a mission, and nobody ever heard from him again. And they kind of kept eyes on it, and there's no indication he's ever left this planet.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a name other than
He like Yoda.
Yeah.
He went to Yagaba.
No, I have Nadaween.
Nadaween.
Because it's a samurai western. So it's like Tatooine, but more westerny.
Yeah.
And maybe more feudal Japan-y a little bit. I'm pretty sure it's a western, but you could probably do like Force and stuff like Japan. So not Endor.
The rolling desert plains.
So he touches
Andor.
He touches down to the town that Adelar was last seen at. And oh, by the way, Adelar is Ralph Fiennes.
Perfect.
Voldemort.
Oh my God. Same movie, same pitch.
I like that Ralph Fiennes can play really evil and really like trustworthy. Mm-hmm. Like you can like his
he could do anything. I bet.
Yeah, well his M in James Bond is just a guy you really like.
Yeah.
And then he does Voldemort and him in
Grand Budapest, where he's like just this. I love him so much in Grand Budapest.
Well, I was thinking in Bruges, where he's just kind of this.
Yeah.
So, I wanted someone who physically moves.
Yeah.
Almost like maybe this is why I picked him, was because Voldemort's all snaky. But I was like, I want someone that kind of moves like a snake. I want someone that moves where, like, when you see him,
he
you don't trust
moves.
him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want someone who exudes evil but can play good.
Yeah, he moves and talks with purpose. He never does anything that isn't with a point, and it's worrisome.
Yeah, I don't trust Ralph Fiennes. I think he's after me.
Think of a band.
Yeah, I think he's after me, and I want someone who
I have nightmares every night.
It's like the Family Guy scene where just Ralph Fiennes comes around in my bed. Hey, you sleeping?
You sleeping?
So
no, Voldemort.
So Quark goes to this goes to this village, which is the last place that he was seen.
Mm-hmm.
And he kind of starts going around talking to people, and nobody will tell him anything. Like they're actively just like being rude, and he shall not speak his name.
Sorry, man.
He gets lodging at an inn that's run by Linda Cardellini.
Yeah.
Who I don't have a name. I couldn't think of a space name. She's Space Linda Cardellini. I like Linda Cardellini. So I thought
Belinda Cardellini.
And she has a son who's played by Ty Simpkins, who is Harley in Iron Man 3, and he's the kid in Jurassic World.
Oh, you cast a kid that wasn't Tom Holland?
Yeah! Yeah, I thought of it afterwards. I was like, oh, I should have used Ty Simpkins.
Streak is broken.
Linda Cardellini, Space Linda Cardellini, much like the rest of the town, will not talk to him. But Ty Simpkins, who's named Kimball, which is a reference to Lensman, which is like the first space opera. There's no other connection there. It's just like, I'm going to make a reference to this obscure thing that I like, that's important and nobody else knows about. But he's nothing like Kimball Kinnison. He's actually probably closer to the stupid anime Kimball Kinnison. Anyways, so his name is Kimball. And just continuing the streak of, I don't know if it's a streak, I don't remember what it's called, Jurassic World. But Harley is a girl's name, and Kimball's a girl's name. Just give him that kid girl's name.
Just get wayward. Melissa, her son.
So, anyways, at night he sneaks into Quark's room and we'll talk about Adelar, and he's like, oh yeah, he's this awesome guy. He does all this cool stuff, and like he's great. And so he stays there. Quark stays there for a couple of days, and then Space Linda Cardellini is like, no one's gonna tell you anything, but it's not gonna matter. At the end of the week, you're gonna meet him anyways. So the end of the week comes, and there's these big, like, monster centipedes that come to the town, and Adelar shows up and fights them off. And what we find out is that every month, I don't know what Star Wars time is like.
Yeah.
What it's, I think it's days and weeks. I'm pretty sure they say weeks. But basically, once a month, these things come, and they're just going to destroy the town. And so, I think maybe, like, it'll be something where, like, the energy that they use to power, like, the town, like, draws the monsters, they, like, feed on energy, something like that. It's not really important. What's important is, everyone here loves him because they used to, like, monthly get their town ravaged. And they tried to move their town. Don't even ask why they didn't move their town. They tried.
They found them.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's mostly remote, kind of like Tatooine, where, like, you have Mos Eisley.
And just a lot of nothing.
Yeah, and then a lot of nothing. So, like, they move their town, like, 30 feet over, and, like, they still find them.
Yeah.
Or 30 miles over. Because there's nothing... There's
30
nothing
feet over.
They'll never...
There they are.
So, when he first came to this place, when Adelar first came to this place, he started protecting them. And every month he comes out and he protects them from... And he uses, like, Sith lightning, and, like, he's using dark side powers to get rid of these things. And so... There's like a month in montage where Quark... Because he doesn't confront him when he first comes out.
Yeah.
And he spends, like, a month learning more throughout the town, knowing that Adelar is going to come back. That basically Adelar came there and just, like, there doesn't seem to be anything bad.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like he came there to rule them.
He's living in some cave somewhere.
Yeah, he just kind of showed up one day, saw that monsters were attacking, and stopped, found out, like, oh, these monsters come every month. And he's like, okay, well, in a month I'll be back. I have to go into hiding. Because there's going to be people after me.
Yeah.
And so, before the month's up, he kind of figures out where the cave is. Like, he would have to be within this much distance to really be able to get here on a monthly basis and protect them, and not have to spend his whole month going back and forth. So he goes and he finds the cave, and he confronts Adelar, and I just want, like, a really long conversation about, like, can you use the dark side for good, and can you use the light side for evil? If Adelar isn't doing anything wrong, even though the Jedi told him to come kill Adelar, does that make what he's doing wrong?
Yeah.
Is that the will of the Force? Like, I really want to get into that really weird gray area that Star Wars has, where it's like, oh, it's a black and white morality. That's like, well, but what about all these?
What about all this?
Yeah, what about all these things?
Usually when the Jedi Order is really political in its actions, and that's not right.
So, so Quark kind of leaves and has to think about it, goes back to town. And, so the month ends, and the monsters, and the big centipede monsters come back. Who will be designed to look like Star Wars monsters, not like the stupid eye monsters in Force Awakens. They don't look like they belong in the Star Wars universe.
They're Otyugs.
Are they?
They look just like the
They look like
Otyugs.
beholders.
They just don't have 3 legs. They roll around on the tentacles, but they look just like Otyugs.
So when the monsters come this time, it's both Adelar and
Lord
Quark.
help us if they were beholders.
So when the monsters come this time, it's both Adelar and Quark, and they both kind of send the monsters away.
Yeah.
And then Quark's like, well, I've spent a lot of time thinking about this, and I still have to I still have to take you down. And so they have the greatest sword fight ever put on film since, I don't know, Princess Bride. And I want there's no name for them, but I want them to run at each other, and like it freeze frames for a second, and then they're on the other side. It's like zzz. No one can see what I did. Yeah. I like grabbed my shirt and I was like bzzz. And he beats him. Quark beats Adelar, cuts off his lightsaber, maybe his hands, but specifically has him in a position where he can't fight back. and he makes the conscious decision to kill him because that is what he was sent to do.
Mm-hmm.
That is what the Jedi sent him to do. And then he kills him, and the film kind of ends with him cutting communication with the Jedi Order and like almost having a change of faith where he decides to kind of take over Adelar's role and be the defender of this town now. And I don't know how you would do this, but I want like the implication that like, and then we stopped having Jedi executioners.
Yeah, because
because they don't exist by the time we get to the prequels.
Yeah.
But that like it is too complex of an issue to just have go kill someone.
Yeah, it's too
like,
morally taxing.
Yeah,
to keep it up.
So yeah, that's what my
and you could totally use the idea where he sees like the moment he turned, and then you're like,
he has the moment.
He just had it. I'm crying because Ron Perlman.
Ron Perlman's so good.
He'd be great.
I want a sad Ron Perlman. Because that would be the ending. Is it sad Conan? But instead of sitting upon his throne, he's sitting in a little cave eating what does Yoda have in his little tent?
Suddenly a narrator starts and everyone's like, "Is that Mako from Conan? He's alive."
No, it'd just be that guy that they got to replace him on Avatar.
I would like to say a runner-up was essentially Saving Private Ryan, almost, but with stormtroopers.
Oh, that's cool.
Where I almost did say clone troopers when I was doing it, but I was like, I think it'd be better if we followed the bad guys who were just trying to get their money out.
The front lines guys.
Yeah, they broke rank. Like, they're not supposed to be out here, but they're like, whoa, we're not leaving. We're
not
leaving Matt Damon out there.
Like the guys who are just like on the base, they're just like, it's like, oh, those rebels, when will they stop? Yeah. When will the death end?
Like I just want to be like, we're just an outpost, and they're just getting bombed.
We have TIE fighters and TIE bombers. They have X-wings, Y-wings, A-wings. How do they have more technology?
They have 24 letters of the alphabet. We have one. They have the rest of it.
Okay, so our big announcement this episode is that on next episode, Captain Logan will be joining us, and he will be also doing a pitch, so it'll probably be a third longer, and then he will be giving us the prompt for our next episode. Our prompt for next episode, that couldn't have become out more confusing. Okay, so this is, I think, the most freedom I can possibly give with a pitch. So in 2 months, we have Ghostbusters coming out.
Oh, no.
And I think it looks awful. I know you think it looks awful. There's like 6 people that think it looks good.
No, I don't like where this is going.
But regardless of whether that movie looks good or bad, I would probably do this anyways, because Ghostbusters on my mind. Alright, it is a kind of complete freedom of a reboot, remake, sequel. But you can also move it anywhere in the timeline. So, like, you could say it's 1991, Ghostbusters 3. You could say it's the year 2000, and it's Ghostbusters 2000, and they're fighting the Y2K ghost. Or, like, something like that.
Ghost in the Machine.
So, yeah, you can set it, you could I don't know why you would set it anywhere but now, and, like, right after Ghostbusters, but for freedom, you can do it, and you can cast people. So, like, if you made a movie in 1995... you could cast 1995 Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah, and we would have Egon.
Yeah. If you wanted to.
Okay, yeah.
So yeah, you
That's
can.
not so bad.
You can do it as a sequel.
Wait, you were making it sound because you were like, it's gonna ruin Captain Logan's life.
No, he said that.
He's gonna ruin our lives.
No. I told him that pitch. And he's like, it's too many options. I don't know what I'm gonna do. So yeah, that's the prompt for next week. It should be exciting. I think we'll probably get 3 completely different pitches. Because I think I know the way that Cap would go, and it's not the way that I would go. And I don't know what way you would go.
I have no idea what Might Egon here?
But so yeah, the pitch for next week is a complete free-for-all Ghostbusters.
Alright, cool.
And you can also, if you want to, you can bring in stuff from other, like if you wanted to bring in something from the real Ghostbusters, or Extreme Ghostbusters, or characters from those other things, you can do that too.
Alright.
Complete freedom. You just can't go before 1989. You can't make Ghostbusters 2 again. You have to carry on from Ghostbusters 2 happened, and then our sliding timeline happens.
Man, I was gonna really try and start next episode by just reading the script of Ghostbusters 2.
No, it has to be Ghostbusters 3.
Wow, man, you really worked on this. This feels like a whole...
But Matt, what about the slime? How does the slime connect to the plot of Ego? Oh, it doesn't connect.
Oh, it doesn't at all.
Alright, so this has been Eric.
This is Matt.
And let's do it again next time. We need an ending sign-off. We'll do it again.
Yeah!